In working with the students, I try to inspire them and encourage them. These are students who will be teachers in the national system. This is really the goal, is to equip individuals with the skills they need to be successful. That's what I tell people about Moldova, is that the hospitality is unmatched.
Dați pe loc! Pe loc am zis! La naiba să te prinde!
Ai înțeles? Nu-ne încurca. Toate cele bune.
Ce fel de om ești?
Târfă.
Dar-ți spun că el a putut și rezolvă cu aista și cu celălalt.
Liniștește-te.
De ce? O să arunci cu păpușoi în mine?
Băieți, se poate mai încet. Aici totuși oamenii dorm.
Doamne, iartă, că nu știu ce fac.
Pe mine nimeni nu mă iubește.
Dar terminul. Coleg, vrei să trăiești?
Da.
Hello dears, my name is Mihail Popescu and I'm the moderator of Moldova Another View. This is my first time and my guest is Bob Eckhart. It's teacher and came from US to help Moldova and University Ion Creangă, Pedagogical University, to implement curricula and so on. Bob,
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah. Tell me please the name of the program, because I didn't catch and remember.
Sure. So the name of the program that brought me here is called the Fulbright Program.
Fulbright Program,
and I am what's called a Fulbright Scholar.
Okay.
And there are several of us here in Moldova at any time, maybe at ASEM, USM, UTM, and I am at Ion Creangă Pedagogical University.
And what is your role and what is your mission here?
So, my role is, I teach classes, so I work with students. This is sort of the formal role, is to be a teacher. Informally, in working with the students, I try to inspire them and encourage them. These are students who will be teachers in the national system. And I have had the great fortune of having a really wonderful teaching career. I've found it to be very rewarding and fulfilling. And I'm really trying to inspire and encourage the future teachers of Moldova that this can be a really wonderful profession.
I read an article about your vision that our teaching system, our curricula is not up to date. Can you be more specific? What should we do, and what is your vision about what can we do?
Well, and I should start by saying even the curriculum and the pedagogy in the United States is not completely up to date, and in most countries around Europe it is not up to date. And so
it's because our world is going faster.
The world
faster. The changing is very fast.
The changes are fast, and in education, perhaps more than most sectors of life, is conservative. It maintains the status quo, and it is difficult to modernize. And so, like I said, even in America, this is an issue. In other countries around Europe, this is an issue. In countries in Asia, I spent 15 years in China trying to get them to do some more modern things with their curriculum and pedagogy, and it's met with not a lot of success and a certain amount of resistance. But the goal is to create a learning system that empowers individuals to engage with curriculum, engage with their professors, and try to make some positive steps towards realizing a career in this field. So that's really what I'm trying to do. At the same time, I'm here to teach, but I'm also here to learn. So I'm learning a lot about the Moldovan system. I'm learning a lot about the post-Soviet system and the Soviet system. And, nothing I have found here has been out of the ordinary compared with every other educational system in the world that I've experienced.
We believe in Moldova that Soviet Union educational system was very good, because a lot of people with graduated was immigrated in US and Europe. and we still believe that our system is good. Can you make like an analysis and what is important in 21st century?
Yeah, right, sure.
Based on do we need knowledges or do we need abilities and capabilities?
Yeah, it's like, you know, in let's say the Soviet system of the 70s and 80s was yielding and producing people participating in the economy of the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and maybe the skills that they learned in the 70s and 80s, hard work, knowledge acquisition, maybe that's what you needed to succeed in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. You know, the world has changed. The system that these students now are graduating into is different. And, you know, now it's not so much about individual work. You know, we're not working on assembly lines. We need to be collaborative. We need to be creative. We need to be innovative.
Integrated.
And I think that's what the educational system needs to try to produce is graduates who will join the culture, join the civilization, join the community, and contribute to it. So I think that's the challenge is, you know, when you have a system that was successful, you should analyze why it was successful and what it was successful at, and then maybe the system needs to adapt because the world around it has changed. So this is the challenge.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of a successful system that you heard about? I don't know. I heard about a system in Europe and North Europe. Maybe can you give me an example how it works?
You know, I would just say one system that I think is really working and is really interesting is just like the self-study system for people who want to join the IT world.
Okay.
You know, there's probably not any individual sector where students who are motivated and inspired can learn on their own and just become developers, programmers. You know, I think with the online platforms, with the curriculums that are available for free on the internet, if a teacher, if a hairstylist, if a bus driver, if anybody is motivated to become an IT worker, they can, on their own time, acquire the necessary skills to join that field.
Okay, but IT skills is more not soft skills, but hard skills.
Sure.
And with new technologies, for instance, AI, ChatGPT, it should be replace this kind of specialization, you know, and kind of programmers, because like nowadays a junior programmer can be replaced by ChatGPT.
I hope that we never replace all of the programmers, because I think there is a certain artistry and creativity to programming. And I don't know if machines with machine learning will ever reach that. And, you know, so maybe now the junior programmers with the help of AI can more quickly become senior programmers, and the senior programmers with the help of AI can reach levels that no one has reached before. So I'm not afraid of AI. I'm trying to embrace AI. I think education needs to embrace AI. I know that certain universities are trying to develop subspecialties and what's called micromasters to really equip students and graduates with specific sets of skills that are going to, you know, contribute to the marketplace. You know, a good example of this is game design, visual arts and game design. And that's one area where my university, Iwan Krianga, is trying to put a lot of resources and investment into. We're really trying to graduate students who can just very quickly join this field. This is really the goal, is to equip individuals with the skills they need to be successful and make Moldova successful.
But how AI impacts this industry, educational industry, how AI can help universities and professors to...
Well, you know, I think the possibilities of AI are limitless, and we're only still discovering them. But for one thing, it can help teachers It can help us create more interesting lesson plans. It can help students. You know, it can remove some of the trivialities that we used to spend a lot of time teaching students. I know personally as a writing instructor, thousands, tens of thousands of writing instructors all over the world have been teaching things like grammar and syntax. And now with AI, that almost becomes unnecessary to teach. And we can really concentrate on teaching the way to think. You know, writing as a creative act as opposed to a mechanical act.
So creativity is becoming more important and more valuable asset and
absolutely.
capacity.
And so really, I think we need to spend more time teaching the creative arts, encouraging people to be creative, and really like moving beyond this mechanical approach to education, because I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, back in my childhood, I should go to library 3 to 5 kilometers to read a book to prepare myself for. And nowadays we have a lot of information, and not this is the goal to have a lot of information, but to develop some skills and how to use this information to create something new.
The truth is that, like, you know, all of the information that anyone could ever need.
Click.
It's you know, they have it in the palm of their hand, they have it in their pocket, they have it in their purse, they sleep with it under their pillow at night. Like anything you want to learn, you can learn from here, and you don't need to memorize things anymore. You don't need to learn facts and figures as much anymore because everything is at your fingertips. You know, when I was a student, the big debate, we had something about this size that we called a pocket calculator. You know, this was revolutionary. In the 70s, you could have a calculator that fit in your pocket. And so you didn't need to memorize all of the multiplication and division tables. But there was a debate. You know, there was a debate. Should we let students use calculators? Or should we require them to memorize everything that we memorized 20, 30 years ago? And now I think the same thing is true with AI. Should we require students to memorize the rules of grammar and punctuation and syntax? Or should we be teaching them how to use the tools? A lot of teachers say we should be requiring them to learn the way we learned. I tend to believe that we should be teaching students how to use the tools.
Yeah, thank you very much for this conclusion. It's very deep, and I think it's very necessary to understand this and to learn from this. So what about your experience in Moldova for 2 years?
And I'll be coming back. You know, this was the way the program works. It's a 1-year program, but by design it's 1 year. It's only allowed to be 1 year. But I was offered the chance to return, and I jumped at the chance. And you know, this is really surprising to my students. They can't believe I want to be here. They can't believe how happy I am to be here. And so I am coming back. So I'll be back in the fall at my university. And, you know, I just find, I find the attitude of most Moldovans to be inspiring. You know, you know, Moldovans tend to be hardworking. They understand that nothing in life comes for free, that they have to work hard. They want to work hard.
That's true.
They want to see results, but they want to work hard. So they're hardworking, they're humble, and I really feel like what I'm doing here can make a difference in the lives of these students and at my university, and that's why I want to be here, because I feel like it's important to be here, and I'm doing good work here.
Okay, Moldova is a small country. What do you think? What is the most valuable asset of?
Okay. Well, two things really. Probably the most valuable asset of Moldova is your magic soil. You know, like as an agricultural nation, that's a competitive advantage that, you know, you can't choose that when you pick a country.
Resource,
you have this resource. It's just you're naturally endowed with. So I mean, okay, that on the one hand, that's just an incredible resource. Is you have this competitive advantage in agriculture. But I think the other incredible resource that you have are Moldovans, the human resources.
That's true.
You know, and the students I meet, you know, on the one hand, a lot of their parents have left Moldova. On the one hand, they've been hearing their whole lives that success, to find success, you need to leave Moldova. But on the other hand, what I'm seeing with my students is these are people who love their country and they want to be able to stay here. They want to have a future here. And so as long as the people in charge can help them see that there is a future for them here, I think that the human resources of Moldova will stay, and that will be the greatest resource for the country.
Yeah, that's true, because we face the challenge that a lot of people go abroad to make some money in Europe, in Russia, and this is a big challenge. And now I am thinking, what should we do to stop this social phenomenon and to bring the people back? And I think it's not only the government, but also we as still remain here can make something to have more strong economy, to build these opportunities. Okay, what about the culture?
Yeah. So I'm asked quite often to teach about American culture, and so I always begin that discussion with a question to the students of, what is Moldovan culture? You know, what are the primary values of the culture in Moldova? And it really seems like there's one main value amongst Moldovans, and that is hospitality. Being hospitable, being a good host. And I've had the privilege to be invited to the houses of the people I teach with, and the grandparents. I've been to some villages. In particular, I've been to a small town called Salcuța down in the south several times. And the hospitality that I receive, the warmth that I receive is so, it's inspiring to me. It makes me so happy to be here. And so I think that's what Moldova means to me. Moldova means that there's hospitality, that the people I work with want me to have a good experience and a positive impression, and they have a warmth to them that isn't always visible on the exterior. You know, it's sometimes there's kind of a stone face, a stern face, a mask that people wear in the market. But when you get to know people, when you're introduced, when you come into their homes, there's an incredible warmth and a real feeling of hospitality. And so that's what I tell people about Moldova, is that the hospitality is unmatched.
You know, I visited for the first time USA this year in March. So I met a lot of Americans in the street, in the shops, in different situations, and 99% was smiling, welcoming. And I don't know how can we learn this from American culture and to implement this and to change this poker face and
I don't know. I don't know that it's necessary. You know, some people have said that it's harder to read people in America where they always look happy.
Okay.
You know, like you can be getting some very bad news from someone, but they give it with a smile on their face, and that seems like a betrayal. And so, you know, there's actually when you receive a smile in Moldova, you have earned it. It is sincere. It is genuine. You know that the person really means it. Whereas a lot of times in America, it might be a forced smile or an artificial smile. People are told that they should smile all the time. And so, I don't know. I think maybe there's a happy medium. You know, there's the cultures that really have the poker face, and the countries that are just too artificially happy.
Smiling,
that I think that somewhere in the middle is okay. And I think, you know, I see that. I see that walking on the street, and you know, you know, in Piazza Centrale, you see different things than you see in coffee shops. And you see different things than you see in restaurants, and so it's an interesting place to be. for me.
So you mentioned Piazza Centrale. What what took you to Piazza Centrale?
Well, before I even came here, I was told that if you need anything, you can find it at Piazza Centrale. Like literally anything, and that's somewhat true. And so I don't go there every day. I don't go there even every week, but I go there frequently. Maybe for vegetables, maybe for electronics. Maybe for my wife would go there and get plants, and so it's just that whole culture of the market is a really interesting phenomenon, and it's something that when Americans come to Europe, they find to be a novelty and want to participate in.
If you had chance to go to buy vegetables and electronics in the shopping mall or Piazza Centrale, what did you choose and why?
Yeah, just it's such an interesting experience, right? I can go to malls in Africa, I can go to malls in Asia, I can go to malls. Yeah. You can go to malls anywhere, and they all look roughly the same. But even Piazza Centrale has its unique character as opposed to markets that I've been to in Asia and Africa.
Did you have a chance to visit Istanbul and markets in Istanbul?
Yeah, sure. And to
I enjoy it, of course.
Yeah, I think Istanbul's an incredible city, but the vendors in Istanbul are a little more aggressive. They're a little more pushy. And so
inviting to take a tea.
I don't mind the vendors here who are a little more subdued and let you come to them. It's a nicer vibe.
Yeah. But also, this is the culture of Turkish vendors. Okay, back to Moldova.
Yeah.
You told me that you visited like Salcuța.
Yeah.
What other places you visited in Moldova and impressed you? And
Okay, so I've of course been to Belt. I've been to Tiraspol. I've been to Cahul. I've been to Orhei-Vec. So I've ridden my bicycles to Valdul Voda from Chisinau, and so
you go. With
I like to. Really, my goal is to ride a bicycle all around Moldova.
Your bicycle is with the battery. And
no. This is the battery.
You have strong muscles and strong legs.
So do you. I mean, anybody. Arnie could probably do it. Okay. You don't have to go fast. You just want to go far, and you can take it easy. I have actually, I've ridden a bicycle across the United States twice. I've ridden a bicycle across Europe from Ireland to Istanbul, and so I like the vibe of traveling by bicycle. And so really one of my goals before I'm done in Moldova is to do bicycle trips around, and you go to the villages and you meet people and maybe stay in some houses and have some home cooked food and have conversations with people. This is how I like to see the world. You don't see the world at 30,000 feet, and you don't see the world really even in a car at 100 kilometers an hour. I see the world either by walking or by riding a bicycle.
It's very for me, it's very close to me because I was 15 years human resource director, and I told everyone that we should be more human to human and less business to business and business to customer, but human to human, from heart to heart,
Yeah, that's where relationships are formed, and that's where we really find some inspiration from each other.
Inspiration and happiness.
I think that's what everyone is searching for, is some connection, some human connections. I'm very fortunate. I have found that here. The people that I work with at the Iwan Krianga University have been incredibly warm to me, and I've made some very close connections there with the faculty and the staff and the students, and I feel like part of the family. That's really what I think it boils down to, is the human family, the family, the Moldovan family, the family at the university. There's all sorts of conceptions of family, but I have really found a family feeling here, and I enjoy it.
Feeling, emotion, And I saw this new branding of Iwan Krianga. I didn't know that they make this, and this is very cool.
They're trying. they're trying, and that's what I like to be part of. I like to be part of institutions that are striving to improve themselves and striving to be better. And you know, we have a saying in America that it's easy to root for the underdog. You know, like, you know, the people who haven't always had the highest level of success or attainment or respect, you know, those are what's called the underdog. You know, they're not the champions yet, but you know, it's really nice to be on the side of the underdog and be on the team of the underdog and be working with people who appreciate you and who are trying to improve themselves and to be part of that. That's what I really find value in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see one more logo on your cap.
Yeah. This is the logo of the U.S. Embassy here.
Can
you know,
you show it?
Sure. It's a heart. You know, it's shaped like a heart. It's also shaking hands. And
Calibration.
It's the Moldovan flag and the U.S. flag, and so this is what I really think the U.S. Embassy is trying to be here. Is they're trying to be a partner. They're trying to be a partner in making Moldova more secure, more democratic, and more prosperous. You know, nobody can do that for you, but we can try to help inspire you to reach those goals. More secure, more democratic, and more prosperous.
Okay. Thank you very much for being and for helping us in this path. It's a kind of mentoring, you know, helping us to grow and to be better tomorrow as today. So you didn't tell me the history of. Can you show me the bottle? So the name.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, of who was Fulbright.
Fulbright. So
Fulbright.
he was a senator. You know, in the American political system, you have a president, you have representatives and senators and the Supreme Court, but the senators, he was a senator in the 1930s and 40s. And when America emerged from World War II in 1946, he had a vision that Americans should be less isolated. You know, it was really difficult to get America into the First World War and the Second World War. You know, it was hard to convince Americans that they're part of the world community and that we're not just an isolated island in between two oceans. And so William Fulbright in 1946 started this program of academic and cultural exchange. And it operates on many different levels with students, faculty, staff. It is both outbound. I'm on an outbound program from the United States. I've done this program in Moldova. I've done this program in Belarus. And there is also inbound faculty, staff, and students who go to America. And so one of my colleagues at Kyanga University, she is going to America next year as part of the Fulbright program. So it's exchange. It's exchange, and even on teacher exchange, you know, okay, I'm here to teach, but I'm really here to learn. I'm here to learn about another part of the world. And so this is what I think makes the program a success, is when people are both teaching and learning. They're sharing and they're participating in exchange. And so that's been, you know, almost 70 some years that this program has existed, almost 80 years. And tens of thousands of people from all over the world have come to America, and thousands of Americans have been to all corners of the world. And so it's been a real honor and a privilege for me to be able to participate in this program.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that you came to Moldova not only to teach, but to learn also. What have you learned, and how can you use these learnings? How can these learnings can be useful for you? And
sure, you know, I've learned, really what I've learned is really about the value of hard work and facing adversity. You know, so many of the people I work with were kind of like adolescents or young adults in the 90s. You know, they talk about the 90s, and when people talk about the 90s, I can sense in their minds what they're thinking, and it seems to be a period of great struggle and great uncertainty. And really, if you have survived that you know, other struggles in your life might not seem as hard. You know, you emerge from that in that very formative period. And so I really learned what it means for a whole nation to come together and struggle and survive that period. And hopefully they'll never have anything like that again. And hopefully there's just nowhere to go but up from the 1990s. And so that's the greatest thing I've tried to take away and tried to teach people in America about Moldova. You know, I've maintained a blog and maintained a newsletter and tried to do some media productions and tried to educate people in America about Moldova.
Through this
Yeah, I mean, it's
blog
an
and-
incredibly important geopolitical relationship right now for obvious reasons with the invasion next door. And so I think when, you know, the thousands of people that I can meet and talk to and impact, when they see me here, they can, makes the world feel a little bit smaller and helps them to understand the importance of supporting democracy everywhere. We can't just let non-democratic forces sort of rule the world. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach and learn about that.
Okay. So, you know, Bob, for me it was a privilege to have you as invite in our program. So I do not have a last question.
Okay.
But we have some space and some time to maybe you have some thoughts, some messages for our the people who will see our video program.
Yeah, I would just say that Moldova is a hidden gem.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't want to broadcast that too widely.
Okay.
You know, I like that it's a hidden gem. I like that I have found it, and I hope a few other people find it. I don't want everyone to come here.
Yeah.
You know, Moldova is still so authentically Moldova. You know, some of my students, they complain, oh, you know, we have to go to Yash if we want Starbucks, or, you know, if we want to go to Zara, we need to go to Romania. And I think that's fine. You know, I kind of joke that if there's a Starbucks on every corner, I'm leaving. When Zara comes to Moldova, I'm leaving.
Because Moldova
will have been
lose
discovered.
Authenticity.
Your authenticity, I think, is your superpower.
Okay.
You know, okay, so literally the superpower of Moldovans is your linguistic ability, the ability to switch from Romanian to Russian to English, sometimes to Ukrainian, Turkish,
German.
You know, German, Gagosian, all these languages. You know, this is a true superpower of Moldovans. But I think the most interesting thing for me here is just how purely Moldovan and authentic the experience is here. And I love it. I love the way the parks look. You know, some people might come to Moldova and they might sit in the park and say, oh, you know, boy, it's not perfect. You know, it doesn't look like Versailles.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you want
ideal,
if you want Versailles, go to Versailles. But I love how the parks here seem natural and organic and not overly manicured. I love how the vibe of the city is so casual and laid back, and it's not pretentious, and it's humble. You know, I think it's really the kind of ideal place that I want to live in, a place that knows that it has strengths, knows that it had a proud history. You know, we all walk past Stefan Chelmare every day. We see him on the trolley bus. You know, he's ever present. But I hope that Moldova maintains its authenticity, even as other people begin to visit it. And I know that planes are arriving every day from all parts of Europe and the world, and people are discovering Moldova. And you know, one thing they're discovering is the wine. You know, Moldova is a wine country, more of a wine country than Italy and France. It just seems like wine has such an incredible importance here for thousands of years.
Every family, you know.
Every family you go.
Like
It's just like
It's some
Italy.
production
So
of wine.
my ancestors are Italian. My grandmother is from Calabria. My grandfather's from Abruzzo, and I have visited those villages, and I've drank the homemade wine, and so when I go to the villages here, it feels just like being in an Italian village,
yeah.
and drinking the homemade wine feels just like it does when I'm in Italy, and I love that feeling.
Yeah,
I love the way that I feel here, and so.
it's very precious feeling.
It is. It's because you don't get this everywhere. And to be honest, I have students who have gone to other countries to live, or they've gone to other countries to study, and I honestly feel like they don't appreciate Moldova until they leave. You don't know what you love until
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gone. You
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what you
that's
love
true.
until you lose it. And so I really think this young generations of Moldovans, they love their country, they want to be here. And I really hope that the politicians and the sort of the elders can help create a society and an opportunity for them to live their lives here and make Moldova great again.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line is really that's the goal is to make Moldova great again.
Let's make Moldova great again. And I would like to ask you a favor. Can you say what you learn in Moldova when you are living? In Moldovan, what you say like goodbye in Moldova? Did you learn?
Oh, drum bun?
Drum bun.
Drum bun?
So, la revedere?
La rivedere.
Ah, okay.
So,
dear,
Ozzy Formosa.
That was it from us. So, dears, we tell you have a great day and la revedere in Moldova Another View. Today with me, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Узнаете это кресло? Вам страшно? Меня зовут Дан Багян. Я стоматолог высшей категории в клинике Fluid. Мы вылечим ваши зубы под микроскопом и с помощью лазера, и улыбка не покинет больше вас.
С 23 по 29 июня Кишинев, Молдова. События в театральной жизни страны, которые нельзя пропустить. Государственный молодежный драматический театр с улицы Рос имени Юрия Хармельна проводит 13-й международный фестиваль камерных театров и спектаклей малых форм «Молдфест».
Dați pe loc! Pe loc am zis! La naiba să te prindă!
Ai înțeles? Nu ne încurca. Toate cele bune.
Ce fel de om ești?
Târfă.
Dați spun că el a putut și rezolvă coistă și coșelul.
Liniștește-te.
Да че, o să arunci cu păpușoi în mine?
Băieți, se poate mai încet. Aici totuși oamenii dorm.
Doamne, iartă că nu știu ce fac.
Pe mine nimeni nu mă iubește. Dar terminul.
Coleg,
Vrei să trăiești? Da.